When you pay a man top half of the league money in his position, you expect the same type of production, but sometimes it doesn't work out. Are the Jacksonville Jaguars in trouble of falling into that pit as Trevor Lawrence struggles to open training camp? That and more on today's episode of Locked On NFL.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, everybody, to this Friday episode of Locked On NFL, your daily podcast covering the National Football League, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for making Locked On NFL your first listen of the day every day. Don't forget that you can subscribe for free on YouTube or wherever you are getting podcasts. I'm David Harrison. He is Tony Wiggins. Both of us are credentialed members of the media. I'm covering the Washington Commanders. He's covering the Jacksonville Jaguars. And of course, you can find both of us on Locked On Commanders or Locked On Jags, respectively. Of course, we are part of Locked On NFL's rotating lineup of hosts. Locked On NFL is here for you every Monday through Friday, along with our everydayers. We appreciate your continued support for this show and your favorite Locked On programs. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions apply. On today's episode, we're going to look at the list of first-year head coaches for the 2024 NFL season and figure out which one is on the best platform to have immediate success. We're also going to talk about the potential risk that NFL teams fall into, sometimes rushing to failure with their young quarterbacks. But we got to talk about perhaps one of the most dangerous pitfalls that NFL teams can get into, and that is overpaying a quarterback who then doesn't live up to the paycheck. The Jacksonville Jaguars this offseason extended Trevor Lawrence to a pretty lucrative deal, right? Top half of the league in cap hit, at least for 2024. But so far, I'm hearing rumors, Wig. I'm hearing that Trevor Lawrence not having a hot start training camp. You're in Duval. Yeah. So tell the good people what's going on with Trevor Lawrence.
Went to the first 2 days, and he's noticeably bigger and stronger. When they're throwing on air, he's fine. For the most part, he's fine, all the time. Here's the problem. He's led the league in turnovers, not interceptions, but turnovers the 3 years that he started, right? Yeah. So yesterday he got one in the red zone, and a lot of his turnovers came in the red zone over the first 2 or 3 years. Yesterday, Ronald Darby got him on a throw he was trying to make. You chalk that up as, all right, this is practice. Guys are trying to see what they can get away with and what they can't. New scheme. It's iron. It's iron sharpens iron time. This is going to help him during the year, right? So today he's rolling to his left. He throws another one to a safety that people think is a backup, but he's competing for a starting position, Andrew Wingard. He threw an interception in the end zone. We were like, oh, man. Everybody was more happy about Wingard making the play than they were Trevor making the play. Although it did look really, really familiar, like a real boneheaded decision, right? And then about 5 minutes later, he did the exact same play and did it again. So now it's like you see everybody now look around like, we got a problem. And I think it's a familiarity. Like when you see something, if you've had any kind of trauma, the first thing that looks like that, you go, oh my God, here it is again, right? It's almost like having Stockholm syndrome a little bit, like PTSD. We know about that. It's like, that looks too familiar to us, right? Well, the issue is he just got paid. When you add that on top of it, so now everything's taken on a life of his own. You got people who are doing articles saying Trevor's struggling. The truth of the matter is maybe 25 times that they did red zone 11 on 11, they completed 18 of them and got 7 touchdowns. So you think that ain't that bad, right? Yeah, but he threw 2 picks within 5 minutes, and they look too much like those plays. So whatever team you follow, think of the worst play. Like if you're a Detroit Lion, right? And one of your receivers has a ball bounce off his head and somebody picks it off. You go, damn, man, that looked too much like last year. Okay, we got her out of our system. And he does it 5 minutes later. It looks like the 49ers game. It looked like that dumb play in the NFC Championship game. You're like, we ain't doing this again now. Especially if you just gave that guy $275 million with 153 of guaranteed at signing. You're like, wait a minute. So I understand everyone going all crazy, and I get it. But no, that's not the whole complete picture. but it's enough of the picture that I'm not going to stand here and defend Trevor Lawrence. No, he's got to clean that mess up, man. There's just some things you shouldn't do in year 4, especially after you got paid. And there are people that already think you shouldn't have got paid. And then you're doing that dumb stuff. So, yeah, I get it, but I'm not going to totally rush to anything. But, he has to clean it up. And that was like the worst thing that could have happened for him today.
Right. Yeah. Look, there's no reason to hit the panic button yet, but there's definitely reason to pay attention and maybe open up your eyes a little bit more and say, "Oh, hold up, what's going on here?" And I'll tell you right now, I'm covering a team in the NFC East, which means I pay very close attention to the NFC East. There's a quarterback in the NFC East by the name of Daniel Jones, who got a big fat contract from the New York Giants. And if you're watching HBO's offseason Hard Knocks, which is a brilliant idea, and I love that they did it, you're seeing that for everybody from the owner on down, if they could have gotten a quarterback, they would have gotten a quarterback to replace Daniel Jones, and they still owe that dude a good amount of money. Daniel Jones, just for example, is getting top 5 money against the salary cap anyway. He's getting top 5 money against salary cap this year. You think the New York Giants are expecting top 5 production out of Daniel Jones? If they are, they're delusional because they're not going to give top 5 production out of Daniel Jones. Even if he has a great season relative to his previous seasons, it's not going to be a top 5 season. So no matter what, that team's not going to get what they've invested in. Now, I will give the Jags a little bit of credit, I guess. There's a little bit of time for Trevor Lawrence to mature into this deal, right? 2024, his cap hit among quarterbacks is 16th overall in the NFL. And then when you look into the future, 2025, he's 18th. 2026, I think he's a little bit higher, but he's not like top 10, right? He's 15th. So like the next 3 years, he caps out in the 14, 15 range. Of top, salary cap numbers for a quarterback. And obviously new contracts are going to come. And so that number will actually dip down probably a little bit by the time it comes. So if you put it in that lens, you're like, okay, well, there's a little bit of time for Trevor to really grow into this deal. But when you look at it through this lens, where he's going to count against your salary cap for $17 million next year, 24 the next year, 35 the next year, $47 million the year after that. And you can't get out of that contract until after the 2028 NFL season. If you cut him after the 2028, before the 2028 NFL season, you're paying at least, do the quick math, $30 million in dead cap space because he's got 2 void years tacked back of that thing. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, look, you don't got to hit the panic button, but you kind of start thinking, did we get Daniel Jones? Did we get duped? The Cleveland Browns maybe are regretting a little bit of their Deshaun Watson contract. Like, did we get Deshaun Watson a little bit here? And the problem is when you do that at the quarterback position more than any other position, you hinder your franchise. And honestly, it costs people jobs. Like the guys who were here when that contract got done may not be here when that contract gets shipped off so they can bring in a new quarterback, because that's how bad that contract can possibly be for that team.
I always said that one of the reasons that they did it was, well, if he doesn't work out, that contract is going to be somebody else's problem anyway, right? Yeah. That's why they did it. And if he did have a great year this year, then the owner would look at him and say, why didn't y'all re-sign him last year when you could have got him for a bargain? What it reminds me of a little bit, and I'll go quick here. It reminds me of no matter how well Jameis Winston plays, if it's 2-3 games in a row, the second he throws an interception, everybody go, there it is again. Like Shannon Sharp doing this. Like, there you go. There it is. You know what I'm saying? So Jameis can have a pretty good, he'll never get past the 30 and 30, right? So that's the thing. It's just so new and so fresh. Those wounds haven't healed yet. Those turnovers haven't healed yet. And most people around here have spent the entire offseason defending Trevor Lawrence. And then he goes and does something like this that's pretty much indefensible. And now he's got to really walk on water. And now I think every time he does something like that, tries to play hero ball, and he makes a boneheaded decision, everybody's going to say, look, see, I told you. And I think that's where we are with him now.
Yeah. And I would tell you right now, I just got done watching a first-year quarterback who, and let's put this in perspective too, right? Because a lot of people are going to watch this and they're listening to this. They're going to say, bro, it's been 2 practices, right? We're at the end of the first week of training camp, and it's not even a full week of training camp. It's like 3 days. But here's the thing. This is not just his second or third practice. Trevor Lawrence has been, first of all, he's been in the NFL for a number of years now. He's had OTAs. He's had mandatory minicamp. And not for nothing, but I just got done watching a rookie quarterback who's in his first training camp in the NFL. And this dude's coming out and I'm telling you right now, this dude's completion percentage in 11 in team drills is at about 72%. He's got 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions, and they just did a 2-minute drill, end of game. You're down by 4, so you can't settle for a field goal. You got 2 timeouts. Guess what they did, Wig? They scored a touchdown with 9 seconds left on the clock. That's what Jaden Daniels just did. Yeah. And again, I'm not telling you Jaden Daniels is going to be an MVP and Trevor Lawrence is going to be on the street, but to say that it's only day 2, it's only day 3, give him a break. Well, it's only day 2 or day 3 for this rookie too. So what does that mean? What does that mean, right? So again, don't hit the panic button, but definitely pay attention to what's going on with Trevor, because the Jags may have rushed to pay this man a little bit too soon. How about rushing to play young quarterbacks like Jaden Daniels too soon? We're going to dive into that conversation coming up next on today's episode of Locked On NFL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Y'all want to talk about winning? It takes passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. I'm talking about your car. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts, that's a lot. 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
Why do NFL teams make the mistake sometimes of starting their young quarterbacks too soon? Is there a bigger advantage to letting your young quarterbacks sit for a little while before you throw them into the fire? That's coming up next on Locked On NFL. Thanks for making Locked On NFL your first listen today and every day. Everydayers, thanks for coming through all the time like you do. Make sure you come back Monday. There will be a fresh new episode of Locked On NFL. But if you can't wait that long before getting your sports coverage, Locked On Sports Today has got you covered there. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every single day. And it's free streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Just a whole lot of free going on over here. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Wait, we just got done talking about Trevor Lawrence. Hopefully the Jags have not rushed to paying him. But obviously, 2 days in, 3 days into training camp is not looking too hot. Hopefully it's not a Daniel Jones situation. But now we got to worry about the other side of that coin. Quarterbacks getting rushed into the field. I'm watching a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Dan Quinn at the beginning of training camp basically said to us, look, guys, it's no secret. And what he means by it's no secret is you draft a dude number 2 overall. He's going to start for your franchise. It's a matter of when, not if. But everybody here looks at him, looks at Marcus Mariota, who's the veteran that would, quote unquote, be the starter if it's not Jaden. And Jaden Daniels is head and shoulders above Marcus Mariota right now through OTAs, minicamp, 2 days into training camp. What are your thoughts, Wig, on the potential of, like, even though if Jaden Daniels is the better quarterback, is there a case to be made for having him sit, even if it's just 4 games, let him get his feet wet in the regular season, see how it kind of rolls before pushing him out on the field?
Yeah, there's a case for it. The case for it is called Jordan Love. And I know everybody's going to say, well, Mariota ain't no Aaron Rodgers, right? We know that. We're not talking about what's in front of him. We're talking about what was best for Jordan Love. It could have been you or me in front of him, and it was best for Jordan Love to wait, right? Sometimes that's the case. When you go through it and you look at Baker Mayfield was ready physically, but was a little immature in Cleveland, right? Went through 2 other stops, and now he's in Tampa, and he looks like a dude that they can ride with a little bit because talent always wins. But it's not just about your physical talent. It's also about your maturity. It's also about you trusting what's around you. It depends on what's around you. Trevor Lawrence was the best player on this team the day he got here. And when it's like that, coaches always say we're going to play the best regardless. Right? Whether you're a rookie or not, we're going to play the best. So he was the best player on the team when he got here. And they put him out there. These teams need the savior to show up, right? They come up with all of these names, Sunshine, the Prince of Promise, and all of these things. It's because they're trying to sell tickets, and more than anything, they're trying to generate hope, especially for a downtrodden franchise. So you can't generate hope with a baseball cap on. That's just the bottom line. It kills me when people think you can just sign this guy because he played college here. is going to help. No, they were talking about that with Tebow back in the day. And some veteran players told me, I don't care who you are. You could be a Hall of Famer. If you're hurt, nobody's listening to you. You're hurt. Get over there. We're trying to play. So they always want to get them on the field. And some people believe the only way you learn is to learn on the fly. Anthony Richardson, I get it. Lamar Jackson, I get it. Because those guys have a way to beat you until they learn the things that they were supposed to learn. But when you're talking about a pure passer, you're talking about a guy creating turnovers, you do not want to ruin your quarterback. And there have been quarterbacks ruined over the years because they were rushed in too early. Those are losing franchises. I think the franchises that do a really good job of not getting those guys in are franchises that pick them before they need them. Aaron Rodgers, right? Jordan Love, we're going to take our time with you. We're not rushing you, and it works out. More teams may need to start looking at that as the approach. Maybe Atlanta isn't so dumb that they'll say, you know what, we want to see Michael Penix in 3 years. We don't want to see him right now. Maybe somebody owes Terry Fontenot an apology because all of these other guys are going out here too early. And I'm afraid for Bryce Young. That's why I'm glad Dave Canales is there, and you covered the Bucs, and you saw how Canales was able to finagle some offense with a team that was kind of limited with their offensive line and, had some bad luck with the quarterback position. So maybe that can help him. Under that old regime, they were going to get that kid hurt because he's small anyway. So, yeah, I think more teams ought to look at that and look at it like we need to get a quarterback in here when we still have one. But in order to do that, you have to justify it. And it's hard to justify, especially when doing the right thing sometimes leads to GMs and coaches getting fired. All you got to do is look at Herm Edwards, who purged the entire team in Kansas City to do what was fiscally correct, and they ran him out of there anyway.
I'll tell you this, man. Like I agree with a lot of that you said. And I think it's interesting because you look around the league and there are teams who try to do that, right? The New England Patriots twice they tried to draft Tom Brady's eventual replacement, and they basically underestimated just how long Tom was going to play and ended up having both those guys have to leave because Tom was saying, hey, bro, I'm sticking around. I don't know why you're drafting my replacement. I ain't going nowhere. But yeah, you look at the Green Bay Packers and you bring up the Packers and the Falcons. And I'm glad you brought that up because who was the last team that drafted a quarterback in the first round and got absolutely roasted for doing it? The Green Bay Packers. When they drafted Jordan Love, I remember that draft night. Everybody was going, y'all are dumb because Aaron Rodgers has no weapons. You're not giving him any weapons. And then we find out Aaron Rodgers is mad. Of course, Aaron Rodgers is mad. But guess what? For the Green Bay Packers, now who's laughing? Yep. Now everybody's talking about, well, they need to sign Jordan Love before he has another great season and resets the market, just like the Jaguars did with Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. Maybe the Packers should learn a lesson from the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New York Giants, right? Maybe have him perform for 2 years before you go out there and pay the man a nice fat contract. But either way, there's obviously a case to be made for it. And the Atlanta Falcons, 5 years from now, the Atlanta Falcons might be the ones laughing at everybody else who's still going out there trying to find a quarterback while they got Michael Penix Jr. out here lighting the NFL on fire. We don't know, but that's what history will go ahead and dictate. Here's I think the thing that it boils down to, Wig, and you and I are both guys who served in the military, so we both understand this concept. And a lot of people, unfortunately, don't understand this concept. But the general manager and head coach, their main priority, their job that the owner tasks them to do is to win as many football games as possible. And that is the reason why young quarterbacks get thrust into the spotlight sometimes, a lot of times, too early. That's the reason Zach Wilson's go out there and get destroyed. That's the reason that Jared Goff's go out there and get shell-shocked and Sam Darnold's go out there and start seeing ghosts, right? That's the reason those things happen because, and I'll use Washington as an example. If you look at this Washington Commanders team with Marcus Mariota and say that's a 4-win team, and you look at this team with Jaden Daniels and say that's a 7-win team, neither of those teams are a playoff team. Jaden Daniels is going to be the starter. They're going to go out there and they're going to win 7 games. And Jaden Daniels is going to get sacked 50 times. And 3 years from now, he may be a shell-shocked version of himself that, all the potential in the world and all these things. Because at the end of the day, if the coach and the GM make a decision to start one guy over another guy and they lose more games than they would have lost with this other guy, they're going to get fired. Now, they might get fired both ways either way. And there's not enough patience in the NFL to allow these guys to fully mature. So that's why these things happen. Now, I do believe in Washington's case, just since we are on that topic, that not only are they going to win more games, but like you said with Lamar, like you said with Anthony Richardson, and there's been some other guys, Patrick Mahomes, not year 1, but year 2 started, and all those things. Like, he did start a little bit in year 1, but you know what I mean. He was a full-time starter in year 2. they have that extra weapon. Jaden has that extra weapon. So as long as they get him ready to do it smartly, he will be, hopefully he will be fine. And his first year head coach, Dan Quinn, would love if Jaden Daniels could use that second weapon and get them some more wins, because that would help him be successful in his first year. Who are some other NFL head coaches that could be set up for success their first year in their new jobs? We'll talk about that next on Locked On NFL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
If you own a business, man, I'm telling you, especially small business, you need to think about LinkedIn Talent Solutions. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. I opened a big, huge 10-chair barbershop/salon once. And while I was dealing with contractors and while I was dealing with licensing people, it was just so hard for me to focus on the fact that I had to find people to work there. LinkedIn did that for me, though. And guess what? We were done in 2 days. And I had that place 90% filled, because they know small businesses are wearing so many hats that they might not have time or resources to hire people. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. And you can do the same. All you got to do is post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. I'm going to say that again. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. I'll spell it LOCKEDONNFL, all one word. You got to just post your job for free if you're LinkedIn, and watch all of those candidates come towards you. So LinkedIn, make sure you use linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Wrapping up the week here at Locked On NFL, Tony Wiggins, David Harrison taking you into the weekend. We talked about the potential pitfall of paying a quarterback too early, potential pitfalls of starting a quarterback too early. Let's talk about some of the guys that are going to be making those decisions for these NFL teams, or at least helping in those decisions, these NFL teams. And those are head coaches. Specifically, we want to look tonight or today at the newest head coaches in the National Football League. We're going to go through here and pick out the ones who are most set up for success. I'm going to cheat real quick, and I'm going to continue my conversation about Dan Quinn with the Washington Commanders. So I know he's a retread head coach. It's not his first time around the head coaching block. So maybe to some out there, he's disqualified, which is why I'm going to make this quick. But here is why I believe Dan Quinn is set up to succeed, because it's not necessarily in year one. But the way this team is approaching this, they have, and this is a rough estimate, so don't hold me to this if you go count it on Spot Track yourself, but it's about 40 year one or 40 expiring contracts on their roster today. When they hit the offseason, they've got about 40 players in their top 65 or so who are, if they're on the active roster, they will be pending free agents. So this season alone is a pure fact-finding mission for the Washington Commanders. We want to be as competitive as possible, but we're going to find out who is a fit, who is not a fit. If you're a fit, you might get a new deal if the money makes sense. If you're not a fit, thank you for your service. There's another branch out there that'll want you.
Yep.
That's basically how it's going to work. And because of that, because of the fact that Josh Harris, the managing partner, knows this is not a 2024 turnaround. There is no expectation of the Houston Texans in Washington. You hope for it. You cross your fingers, right, and hope that it happens. But there's no expectations there. If Dan Quinn doesn't get this thing off the ground in 2026, then we can talk hot seat. But he's got 2024. He's got 2025 as far as I see it. 2026 is where the rubber really needs to meet the road. And that, to me, is why not just Dan Quinn, but also Adam Peters, the new general manager, are set up for success.
So there's a couple of ways you can go 6-11, right? I'm so used to saying 6-10, I forgot it. I had to remember they have 17 games. There's a couple of ways you can go 6-11. You can go 6-11. Just imagine you're on a plane, right? You can either be going 6-11 like this, or you could be going 6-11 like that. And what I mean is you could be descending or ascending, right? And you know what it feels like when you're descending, especially when ain't no runway nowhere around. And a lot of these teams were crashing and burning. So the way I look at it is you have to focus on what the trajectory is. I'm going to give you two. I'm going to use one like you did, one that is on the second time. One, I think Raheem Morris is going to be a better coach than he was before. And two, I think Raheem Morris has a whole bunch of skill position players, an offensive line that Terry Fontenot has really, really spent a lot of time fixing up. You got a veteran quarterback to go with his rookie quarterback. And they actually have addressed the defense for a couple of years too. They have to replace Ryan Nielsen, who's down here in Jacksonville. But I think he is set up to do some really good stuff. I also think Brian Callahan is set up to do some things. And the reason why is because with him, I don't think it has to come quickly. And it doesn't have to come quickly because they're doing something new. They're going to be an offensive team built on speed as opposed to being a team that kind of looks like the Steel Curtain from back in the day with old school Mike Vrabel running it. And what I believe is going to happen is fans are going to be patient with it because it's going to be a more exciting brand of football than going Derrick Henry right, Derrick Henry left. Fans are going to really, really be excited about the passing game, the numbers. I'm of the belief that they're going to lose a whole bunch of games, 38-31, 34-28. And you know what? I always say it's okay to lie to me as long as you make me laugh. If you lie to me and it's not funny, then I'm going to get mad. So fans will say, if we lose, make it exciting. And you, because you'll be showing the ascension as opposed to the descent. Fans just want to see hope. Fans will ride with you until the end as long as they see hope and as long as they see positive change. It can't remain the same and it can't be stagnant. And I do think Rand Carthon, along with Brian Callahan, are going to inject a little bit of new life into that franchise, and they're going to look different. They're going to play differently. Even though the AFC South has gotten so much better, I don't anticipate the Titans being very good this year, but I don't think it matters to those fans.
Yeah, I agree with you on Raheem Morris. I agree with you that the Tennessee Titans are not going to be very good this year. We'll see what the future holds for them. I will lean on you because you obviously covered that division a lot closer than I am. If I'm going to add one more name to this list, it's going to be Coach Harbaugh, the Los Angeles Coach Harbaugh with the Los Angeles Chargers. I know we all talked all offseason about the salary cap situation that he inherited with the Chargers, all that stuff. But the most important thing that he inherited was what they and he believes is a franchise quarterback, 27-year-old Justin Herbert. But right now, the Los Angeles Chargers, because of some of the shifting they've done, they've got the 14th most salary cap in the NFL right now this season. Now, they had to jettison some really good talent. So, again, I think people kind of expect a little bit of a down year from the Chargers this year. But if you look into the future, next year, they've got the 11th most salary cap space. They still have Justin. They still have Derwin James. They still got Joey Bosa, all under contract. $52 million in salary cap space. And I'm looking at their roster. They can turn that into 60 just like that. Not even a problem to turn that into 60. And then you fast forward even more to 2026. They've got the 8th most salary cap space. 2027, they've got the 9th most salary cap space. So the Chargers have resources coming, right? So I think, again, it's kind of similar to what Dan Quinn is doing. If Dean Spanos, if the owner of Los Angeles Chargers, is being smart about this and not expecting Harbaugh to come in and make chicken soup out of chicken you-know-what, or chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what, then next year, the year after that, you'll really start to see this team take on the Harbaugh form. And they've got a quarterback that can get the job done. He just needs the assets around him to be able to get the job done. And he'll be 28, 29 years old. You got plenty of time to put this thing together if the Chargers are patient and if Sean Payton continues to drive the Denver Broncos into the ground. And if the Kansas City Chiefs get bit by the Super Bowl salary cap bug that so many teams get bit by, in 3 years, when the Chargers maybe are hitting that peak, that ascension that you're talking about, the Chiefs might be coming down a little bit. The Broncos still might be a problem. And the Las Vegas Raiders, I love Coach Pierce, but right now I don't know what their future looks like. So the Chargers actually could be playing this thing right at the top. It's at the right time. And Coach Harbaugh might be buying into the Chargers at the right time.
Yep, I like it. I like the Baltimore mentality with the GM. He knows, he's used to his brother, so he knows him. I also like the fact that Jim has been a college coach recently. That's going to help him in the draft. He knows all of these dudes. He recruited just about every one of them over the last 3 or 4 years. The Jaguars 2021 draft was very good under Urban Meyer. It's just that he wasn't a very good coach, but 2 of those guys have gotten extended with Trevor Lawrence as well as Tyson Campbell, and then Etienne has been everything that they thought he would be. Andre Cisco is up next to get that's one of the best drafts they had, and it's because of Urban Meyer and his staff. They were used to the college guys. Pete Carroll did the same thing, and Harbaugh did it before when he went to San Francisco, and Pete Carroll also did that when he went to Seattle. He knew these guys. He was hands-on. And that's why I think they're going to be really, really, really good. And I don't think Sean Payton's going to get in the way in Denver because they got too many problems. And you just mentioned Pierce out in Vegas. So the sky looks like there's a lot of blue sky for the Chargers. So I totally agree with you.
I mean, look, if you watch that again, let's give a plug to HBO Hard Knocks, right? If you watch that Giants Hard Knocks, they were getting ready for the draft. There's a scene there where they said, I reached out to my college guy, and they said when we're having to plan for these guys, these are the guys that are the biggest problems. Malik Neighbors was the biggest problem that they had to, or one of the biggest problems that they had to prepare for. Well, if you're in the college game, like you said, and you're not only are you game planning against them, but you probably tried to recruit them to your school before you had a game plan against them. Yeah, like you said, you know them better than most people are going to in the NFL. So that's how we're going to wrap up the week here at Locked On NFL. Thanks for coming through. Make sure you come back Monday. Kevin Ostreicher, Locked On Ravens, will be back to get the week kicked off. In the meantime, make your second listen of the day Locked On Jags or Locked On Commanders, or stay right here and head over to Locked On Sports Today, the first ever 24/7 sports streaming channel on YouTube. As always, thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen of the day, every day. Thanks for coming through like you do. For Tony Wiggins and David Harrison, we will see you right back here next Friday for another episode of Locked On NFL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.